He's in the beach in France. That's Scott Fitzgerald. His wife Zelda. There's Mr. Bromfield. Yep. The dog door was in this corner back here by the end of the couch. They finally had to nail it after 9 years because other animals figured out they could come in the door too. Skunks and raccoons and possums. But the dogs are pictured over here in a painting done by Calvert Reserve. It was an ad campaign to sell Calvert Reserve. Mr. Bromfield was supposed to be in the painting, but he had to admit, I don't drink that particular product, but my dogs aren't as fussy about whiskey as I am, like that. So they still went ahead with the campaign with the dogs. The ad is sitting up on the table there, and then there's a magazine with the ad on the back of it. They fudged a little bit in saying Malabar Farm is well stocked, Louis Bromfield is switched. He never switched. He drank White Horse Scotch. That was his favorite drink choice. The bed is one of the unoriginal pieces. When his wife died in '52, he moved upstairs. So we don't know what happened to the original bed. But his daughter came back in 2007, said, Dad was in this room, I want a bed in this room. Well, she talked and we listened. So they built the bed based on the photograph on the bed there. But they shrunk it a little bit. There weren't bookshelves there at the time. He was 6'2". Do you think he'd fit in that bed pretty good? Not very well. But the dog got a full-size bed. But the famous author didn't like that. The books in this room are all part of his collection. But a month ago, these books were cleaned by this program that we're working with in Cleveland called ICA, Inter-Museum Conservation of America. Association, excuse me, out of America. But when you see the red tickets on all the bookshelves, when they clean the books, all the books that were signed by the author to Mr. Bromfield, they highlighted with that red ticket. There's over 75 of those in the room like that. Did the curtains is the same man that did the wallpaper out there. He was fascinated with racehorses. His name was J.R. Reynolds. Here's his logo here. He was a New York set designer, an interior decorator, and he was a horse enthusiast. He painted this for Mr. Bromfield as a gift to him also. So the curtains were replicated by that same company because the original curtains they decided to put in the safe. It would be way too expensive to try to make them new again, so it was easy. With Kent State's help, they replicated them like that. We're going to head up the stairs, but the daughter wrote a book right here called The Heritage. It's a good book to read. If you didn't read anything else, that would really clue you into a lot of things about Mr. Bromfield. And she writes in a style that's readable. His book style, yeah,
He did not.
people, yeah, he was considered a Victorian author, very much, and he wrote a slow laboratory. Yeah, some of his books are very. I still have Malabar Farm on my nightstand when I want to go to sleep at night. That's the book I pick up to read, and not to be bad. I mean, sometimes I tell people on a good winter night, get a good cup of hot tea, a nice snowstorm going, then sit down and read. His Pulitzer-Prize is lit up on the wall over there. For the 1927 book, Early Autumn. He always liked to say, when I told you look up The Lost Generation, his comment was, I'm not lost, I know where I'm at. His book style, and this is what Hemingway criticized him, he was too Victorian in his writing like that. So by the 1950s, his style was certainly going out of vogue when the other shorter, abrupt styles, but he called Hemingway a hack writer too. So this is Voltaire back here, one of his inspirations. Thomas Jefferson used to be there, but the dogs played with him. Thomas Jefferson didn't make it. We're going to head up the back stairway here. This is the New York room. When he moved here, his business agent threatened to quit. He loved his business agent. George had a way of keeping him organized, keeping his bills paid. So Bromfield didn't want to lose this man. So he went to New York City to his favorite hotel room, and he made it look like his favorite hotel room from the St. Regis Hotel. The picture of George and the St. Regis Hotel are sitting there on the counter over there. So that's what the room looks like. But George did not like the view out the window. He said, there's too much green out there. I'd rather see buildings. So Bromfield put shutters on his room so he didn't have to look out the window all the time. And then he painted a brand new window. That's a Bromfield original. He was quite an amateur painter. That's a view out that window of the hotel room of New York City. George was here till 1948. Suffered a heart attack at that hotel on a business trip and died. Room was empty. In 1952, when Mrs. Bromfield died, this is the room Mr. Bromfield moved into. So his suits are in the closet. The second Grandma Moses painting is there. His shaving kit's on the counter in there. But the shower in there has Italian marble lining. So take a look at it. The shower head is making a comeback. Somebody told me it's called a waterfall shower head. And so now he had one back in his time. Now there's another one here. His heating system was under the window seats. That's where he had the steam pipes. He had free natural gas. Here's one of the speakers from the sound system. They weren't little. George's real gift here was the movie stars that visited. You're going to see them in the hallway here. But Bromfield's connection to Hollywood brought movie people here. In the 1940s, war was at war. People can't leave the country very easily. They hop on trains, they go to places in America. This became one of those places. The train station was only 6 miles away. So a train station brought you here from Hollywood in a day and a half, not very far, and you were only 6 miles from this place. So the movie stars came. Bromfield let him come. He had room for him. He fed him, and he let him drink too. But he also made him work. His comment was, "Them's that eats works." So Shirley Temple milked cows. Jimmy Cagney sold vegetables. Carol Lombard delivered lamb in the basement. Dorothy Lamore peeled vegetables. Nobody got off here. If you didn't get out of bed and do your chores, he kicked you out of the house. The two younger daughters are in this picture. The older one, she's off by herself a lot. Anne was the oldest daughter, diagnosed with something called juvenile schizophrenia. Today I've looked that up and I find out it's on the autistic spectrum. I think she was autistic. She never married. She was a little different. She was a lot different. She mostly had the nanny. The nanny homeschooled her most, but he did try to put her in public school when they came back to America. There are some stories in here from the youngest daughter that just make your heart sad because she was treated not very well at those schools like that. They didn't have that kind of technology, or they didn't have the information that we have today. The other two girls both did get married. The youngest one is still living. She lives in Brazil. She went to Brazil in 1953 with her dad on a project. The project was restoring coffee plantations. She was a freshman at Cornell University. She had just married a graduating senior at Cornell who came here. And then the reason they got married, did you see the red couch in that other room? They got caught on it. and her husband likes to brag every time he comes here. Guess what I did? Grandchild number 1 got started. So, he was here 2 years ago, and he's still bragging about it. He was 90 years old. Boy, so they're in Brazil. He took a project on that project. He took a place on that project down there. Daughter never came back. Dad wasn't extremely happy about it, but they have a pretty good farm down there, and she does come back every 2 years. She has come back every 2 years. I don't know if that's in her cards anymore. She's 87 years old this year, and he's 91 years old. So we'll see what happens.
Do they have children?
They had children, and we're starting to meet the grandkids now. They have grandkids in Canada, and they have grandkids down in South America. like that. So when she was here the last time, she had them with her, and she was giving the tour of the house. It was kind of fun to listen to her do that. She talks about a big lion or a tiger skin that sat between the stairs out there, and when she was little, she would climb under it, and when people come in the door, she'd stand up like that. She also slid down the stairs on her belly. She thought that was fun. So of all the 3 kids, she had the most fun here, I think, like that. She went to Mansfield Senior just like her dad did. Her sister, Hope, died a year and a half ago. She was 90 years old. She was living in Salt Lake City. Went to private schools, and then she married into the Stephen Textile family. They had a big ranch in Montana. They're the ones that make Cannon towels. So she had a pretty comfortable life. And what I'm finding out now, this wasn't a happy spot for her. When you're a 13-year-old girl and you're being forced to move from Paris, France to Lucas, Ohio, she had issues like that. So that way that came out in her obituary and with her grandkids talking to us like that. Shells on the wall came from a play on Broadway. You might have seen shells in other parts of the house. He reviewed the play negatively. The play closed in 10 days. Max Reinhardt, the producer of the play, thought he'd get even with the young critic. Packaged up set decorations by crates, mailed them to the Bromfields' apartment in New York. Thought he'd overwhelm them with stuff. Since you closed my play, you can have them, I can't use them anymore. Well, the Bromfields went through the crates, took the shells out, took the shells to Paris, brought them back here, and decorated their house with them. So they're just pieces of plaster of Paris. When you go up there, it's a linen area, so you go this way. 2 rooms go into the back, and his mom and dad's room over the garage. But those became offices for the state of Ohio. So this.
Mm-mm.